Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sunday Surefire podcast. I'm your host, the Commish. Joining me today is the co-host, my man, Ethan Weaver.
Kamish, how we doing?
Doing good, Ethan. Doing pretty good, man. We are in the full swing of summer, which to me is my favorite month of the year. Second favorite season of the year, other than obviously the fall football season. That's the best time of year. But this is my second favorite time of year because there's no time in my estimation to get a startup draft done like the months of June and July, and that's what our episode is going to focus on here tonight. We ran through a Superflex tight end premium mock draft here, 1.75 tight end premium, full PPR for all the other positions. Starting positions were quarterback, a super flex spot, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 3 flex spots. So in total, a start 10 league. To be clear, like I said, this is a mock draft, so there are no trades involved or anything like that. And the fun part about this is that we got together 10 other guys in the community that we know and we know are locked in Dynasty managers. We also know that they're big fans of the show, and a lot of them watch us regularly. So we're going to be getting some nasty grams in the coming days for sure.
I hope
because
so.
the crux of this episode is going to be calling up the best and worst values each of the first 12 rounds of this 12-team mock startup draft. So are you looking forward to taking the slings and arrows that our good friends and fellow Dynasty players are no doubt going to be throwing our way?
Oh, always. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Always ready for it. Always ready for it. I think overall, and we talked about this before we came on, but we said the first round was pretty solid. I mean, it's tough to really screw up a first round pick in a startup draft. So I think it did pretty well. So we left the worst value of round 1 off the table here. So giving the boys a little bit of a pass, I think they'll appreciate that out of the gate. But we did have a best value in round 1, Ethan. So who in your estimation was the best value in the first round?
Every pick in the first round was pretty much locked and loaded. There was no pick that was, I would say, far superior than the others. But I just think Patrick Mahomes at the 1-7, seeing him fall to the back half of the first round. I still believe in Patrick Mahomes as a top-end asset, QB asset in Dynasty. I think with Rashee Rice coming back from injury, Xavier Worthy taking a step, Hollywood Brown, maybe one more okay year to Kelsey. I mean, Royals, a decent running attack. I think this offense can take a much bigger step in 2025. And Patrick Mahomes it's hard not to trust him. So I think if you're sitting there at the 1-7 and you were able to draft Patrick Mahomes, I'd be very happy with it.
I'd be very happy with it too. And as you might think, because it was actually my pick right there at the 107. You and I were slotted right back to back, 106, 107. I'm sitting there thinking like, what am I going to do when Ethan takes Mahomes at the 106? But you went Brock Bowers, which I understand given the format. But in some ways, I'll say you left me off the hook a little bit, not having made that decision between Chase and Bowers at the 107 giving me Mahomes. And in that spot, I was happy for it as well. All the reasons you mentioned. And also, when you're drafting in round 1 of a startup, it is legitimately the definition of square one. Like, you have nothing on your team. And in a Superflex league, there's just you can't put a premium, enough of a premium on having a quarterback that you know is going to be a fixture of your lineup for the next 7 to 10 years, really. I mean, that really is how safe Patrick Mahomes is given what he's accomplished. And I don't think you can say that locked in 100% certainty any quarterback after him is on that list. Would you agree?
I would agree. And I took Brock Bowers, as you said, the pick before. I was thinking of going Mahomes, but the group chat was calling for me to stay on brand and go with my guy Brock Bowers. So I had to take him. But no, Patrick Mahomes, he was definitely going to be the pick for me if Brock Bowers wasn't my guy.
You had to do it. You had to give the people what they want. And you did. So good for you for doing that. Good for you. But let's go to round 2 here. Like we said, we have best values and worst values from this point out here. So who was your best value in round 2?
Round 2 is looking pretty good too, but I went CeeDee Lamb at the 2-4. I mean, you look at most rankings, he's, a top 8, top 10 pick. And to get him at the 2-4, I thought was great value. I mean, when this offense has a healthy Dak Prescott, I mean, they're top of the league in offense. In 2023, they're first in scoring, 5th in yards, 3rd in pass yards. I expect George Pickens to take some of the pressure off CeeDee Lamb, but to get CeeDee Lamb at the 2-4, I'd be very pumped with that. I mean, that team right there started off with Neighbors and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you're not getting a better wide receiver two than CeeDee Lamb there. So I thought Lamb there was good value.
Lamb was a good pick. That was my second guy on my list, but I went with the tight end that came off the board here in this near the top of the second round with Trey McBride at the 202. It's a tight end heavy premium format. So McBride, as we know, is just a monster. Only 26 years old this season. Bowers' 2024 season has been talked about ad nauseum and totally at length. Totally deserved. Like, he was amazing in his rookie year. But McBride actually outscored him on a points per game basis by 0.4 points. So it was really close. He played one fewer game than Brock Bowers, who played the full 17-game season. So, like, McBride was awesome last season, and he did it with just 2 receiving touchdowns. So if positive TD regression does find its way to McBride this season or any season going forward, like, look out. This guy's going to be an absolute stud and a league winner. And I think given the format, he fit the mold for a good call out here in the second round.
Yeah, I figured I'd save McBride for you to talk about, but no, he's obviously a great pick because, as you said, I mean, Brock Bowers went at the 1-6, and then you're getting Trey McBride at the 2-2, and you're splitting hairs. In my opinion, Bowers is in a tier by himself, but just slightly below him is Trey McBride, and you really can't go wrong if you're drafting either of those guys in redraft startups. Just get them on your team.
Yeah, they're both awesome. Bowers has the age gap on his side, which is really the only big difference. But yeah, love both players there. They're both going to be awesome fixtures of lineups for a long time, especially in tight end premium formats. As far as worst values go, I'll start this one here. I know we actually agree with this one, so I'll just say it for both of us. And if you have anything else to add on, go for it. It's going to be Bo Nix here, who went at the 208. And like I said, kind of an easier call for me here. He went off the board at QB7 overall, ahead of guys like Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Kyler Murray. All of them I have ranked ahead of Bo Nix. You want to really quibble about Kyler Murray, I wouldn't necessarily argue with you. Maybe Caleb Williams too. You can make it could be a discussion, but I just think there are better options on the board here in this particular case. And I do feel good about Nix overall in the spot that he's in. Like, if he's your QB2 and you got him at middle late first round last season, maybe even early second round, I feel good about that. But in a startup here, just a little bit too expensive for me in the middle of the second round, Ethan. I know you agree, but anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, you're drafting him off the board at QB7, which, I mean, maybe his ceiling, which we just saw last year when he finished as QB7. I do think, like, it's not an awful pick here. I do think Bo Nix is going to be good going forward. But like I said, you're drafting him at a ceiling. I think I would have went in a different direction knowing you had Jalen Hurts in the first round. But Bo Nix, to me, it's a little risky in the second round there.
Agreed. Let's move to round 3, Ethan. Who's your best value in that round?
So I'm going to pick on this team a little bit, and the player's awesome. I mean, he's gonna crush this next year. But I'm going to go Saquon Barkley, strictly due to him going into his age 28 season. I mean, he's coming off a year with 378 touches, 345 of those touches being carries. I think they're going to throw the ball more this year. I mean, Saquon Barkley, granted he was healthy last year. Is he gonna turn another healthy season in after just being an absolute workhorse the year before? And also, it just more so the way this team drafted. I would have, like, this team drafted Bo Nix in the second round. I would have rather went in like with a Nico Collins and Marvin Harrison Jr. in the second round, and then came around the turn and drafted one of the quarterbacks that went after Saquon Barkley, whether it was C.J. Stroud, Purdy or Love. That's the build and the direction I probably would have went, just because, I mean, you draft Saquon Barkley in the third round, you better be ready to go win now approach, because how many more elite years does Barkley have? Who knows? Barkley's a freak. Maybe I sound stupid right now, but I just would have went in a little bit different direction.
I think I can see a couple sides of it. And for the record, folks, we'll start with the worst values in this round, and then we'll circle back to our best values in round 3. I think you're going to sound stupid in September and October, for sure. Like, when Barkley's running through defenses, like, even if there's regression in the team's run rate, like, Barkley had 1,700 yards last year or something crazy. Like, even if he has a down year and only has 1,300 yards rushing and 12 touchdowns, like, it's still going to be great. So, yeah, he's going to be awesome in the early going. He's probably going to be awesome in 2025. There's a reason he's going in the top 5, maybe even 101 overall in most redraft formats. So Yeah, I think your take's going to look pretty dumb there for a year, but I hear where you're coming from. It's Dynasty. The long-term game is real, and Barkley already falls into a category where he doesn't fit on every single manager in the league's roster. He's really a win now only piece, which if you're worried about value, limits the number of suitors that are going to be in the market for him. So I see where you're coming from with that. I went in a little bit of a different direction for my worst value here. I went with Michael Penix, who went 310, and I've just never really been overly infatuated with Penix. I think he's going to be a guy who, best case, kind of comes in there as like a high end to mid round QB2 in Dynasty, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with a quarterback that finishes there, but we're still in the first 3 rounds. So I want guys who ideally have a little bit more ceiling and can give you that, maybe, or at least are a little more proven. I mean, Penix has started 3 NFL games in his career, so we don't really know where his career is going to turn out. So this one could work out, but I just kind of look at Penix and I see a guy who's good enough to distribute the ball, to make a couple guys be good quality fantasy options, but not necessarily a guy who has any type of rushing floor or that top level, elite level arm talent to be a guy who could win from the pocket and throw for like 40, 45 touchdowns, which is what you need if you don't have the rushing floor to be an elite quarterback in fantasy. So this one could work out, but I would have gone a different direction rather than Penix at the 310.
I definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, to your point, I do like safety in the beginning of my dynasty startup because these are the guys that you're building your core around, right? So Penix, I mean, people are probably thinking a little too much about that week 18 game against Carolina where Drake London was great. He was QB7, but I mean, the 2 weeks prior, he was QB30 and QB25, and he played 100% of the snaps. So what Penix are you going to get week in and week out in 2025? I mean, for somebody taking him in the 3rd round, you hope he's a top 12 quarterback, a top 15 quarterback each week. So it is a little risky. I would went in a little different direction with the players on the board.
Who did you like in round 3, Ethan?
Honestly, a guy that I'm very high on and a guy I liked the back end of the 3rd round was JSN. JSN finished wide receiver 9 last year in full point PPR with DK and Lockett on the Seattle Seahawks. He went off the board as WR12. So I think which obviously WR12 that's still great. I just like JSN there. I would have took JSN over Penix. I probably would have took JSN over Ladd, but there is a conversation to be had there. But I love the player in JSN. I think we're going to see an absolute stud this year, and now he has the entire Seattle wide receiver core to himself. So I'm excited about JSN this year and excited for the player. So I'd be happy to get him at the back end of the 3rd round.
Same here. He's safe and he's really young and he's got all the targets he can handle. Forget about the ghost of Cooper Kupp. Like JSN is going to be awesome. My value here, you can call me a Patriots homer if you want to with this one. I'm going to go with our boy Drake May at the 301. He was the 10th quarterback taken in this draft. I have him at QB7, which is about as high as I could put him. I have him in tier 3 of quarterbacks behind the top 6 of Allen, Daniels, Jackson, Burrow, Hurts, and Pat Mahomes. I have him in that next group. He's QB7. So I was really excited to see him go at the 301. I mean, he has crazy rushing upside if they really fully unleash him and let him go. Getting an upgrade offensive line, and also Stephon Diggs will be back on the field at some point for the past of the season. So things are getting better slowly in New England. I think he could absolutely crush this year, and I was really happy for this manager to get him at 301.
Yeah, going off the board as QB10, you are getting a value there based on most rankings out there. Most people have him at QB7, like you said. So, and Drake May, I mean, they call him Josh Allen light for a reason. I mean, we'll see if he can take off. The Patriots, I really like what the Patriots did this offseason. They brought in an established veteran in Stephon Diggs to help Drake May out. Hopefully, he can come strong off that knee. They drafted Will Campbell at the 3rd overall pick to shore up that offensive line. I mean, they got a guy like Trayvon Henderson to do work out of the backfield in the receiving game. So I really like what the Patriots did, especially with their coaching staff too. Josh McDaniels is back, Mike Vrabel. So I think it's wheels up for Drake May. So QB10 could be his floor next year. So it's exciting to see him. I would be very excited to get him at the 3-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep going to round 4. I'll start this one with my best value pick in this round. I'm going back to the tight end premium format. I'm going Sam Laporta at the 402. I mean, this time a year ago, if you zoom out, Laporta was very much the consensus tight end 1 overall this time in 2024, coming off a crazy rookie campaign in his own right. I mean, he injured his hamstring in training camp, which I think played a big role in his slow start to the 2024 campaign. That kind of went under the radar a lot until the season started, and then it was very much on the radar, like, what's wrong with this guy? He spent an early draft pick on him. Why does he suck now? I think he was dealing with some stuff. Also got banged up a little bit during the season as well, but he did rebound for us in the second half of the season. Between weeks 8 and 18, he averaged 16.6 fantasy points per game in this format, the 1.75 tight end premium format. And if he had done that throughout the entirety of the season, he would have finished tight end 3 overall on the year behind only Bowers and McBride. So he kind of feels like a little bit of a steal to me here at the 402, coming in healthy here, and just, another year into his career. I think he could rebound pretty good here and give us a really good third season in the NFL.
No, I agree completely. I mean, he still went off the board as tight end 3, where he's usually ranked. So it's not like you're getting a crazy value in terms of tight end positional rankings, but I do think you're getting a steal in the beginning of the 4th round. I mean, just this time last year, I believe Laporta went 2-2 in our startup. So he fell obviously a full round plus because of the down year last year. I think Laporta has a very, very massive opportunity to bounce back. So yeah, definitely like the Laporta pick. He's a guy I could have easily picked for the best value, but I won't double tap the tight end here. And I went Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield, I get it. He's still relatively young, right? He's just turned 30 in April. Which is young for a quarterback, and he just came off a QB4 season, right? And he's coming off the board in this mock as QB16. If you're looking at a 3-year window, Baker Mayfield is going to be a QB1 for the next 3 years. They have Mike Evans, obviously he's getting older, but you have McMillan, you have Igbuka, Godwin, they just signed him. They're going to continue to bring pieces in as these players age out. I just think at least for this year and next year, Baker Mayfield is going to be slinging the rock, and to get a guy that was QB4 last year, QB16 off the board, I think that's pretty good value.
Yeah, I'd agree. They moved some things around in this contract as well, and it's not technically guaranteed, but if they were to cut him after this year, it's like a $35 million or something dead cap hit to do it. So he's essentially locked in for 2 more years as a Tampa Bay starting quarterback. So I like Baker a lot, especially if you're playing in that 3-year window. Like that's kind of what a lot of managers like to do. In Dynasty these days, coming out of startup. So he's a good pick there. You can take up a few guys at other positions and then hit your first quarterback with Baker and feel good about it in a win now build. Moving over to worst values in this round, I went with a running back. I went with Breece Hall, who went at the 401. This one's tough because I really do like Breece Hall as a player. If he was in a better situation on a different team, I'd probably feel a little bit differently about this. He's a guy I do want on my teams in Dynasty where I'm contending, but I think it's just a little bit early for him here, especially with Aaron Glenn taking over as head coach. Been talking up the other backs on the roster, saying he wants to utilize other guys, get them involved. He's coming from a Detroit system where they did very much share the workload amongst 2 different running backs. And between where the Lions offense is today or last season versus where the Jets offense is perceived to be at this particular moment in time, the scoring opportunity is not going to be there in terms of for Breece Hall. And that's before we talk about Fields stealing touchdowns with his legs, which is something that Jared Goff never did in Detroit either. So I just think there's a lot of things to be wary about with Breece Hall for 2025. Hoping he gets out of there after this upcoming season for his long-term Dynasty value. But RB values as a whole kind of feel like they're year-to-year propositions in Dynasty at this point. And once you get past the first few guys at the top, and I don't really want to be in that game where I'm playing the year-to-year value position with the 37th overall player taken in this draft, Ethan. So what did you think about Breece Hall? Is he your guy too, or you at least smell at him stepping in here?
I couldn't agree more. We are in complete lockstep. He was my worst value selection as well, and you essentially read my. I swear you're reading my notes while you're going through that rant there. I think we're looking at a potential committee, as you said. Justin Fields, that factor. I think he's gonna steal a lot of rushing work. Lot of potential upside with rushing touchdowns as well. And just look at the board, right? Brees Hall went off the board at 4-1. I would say the three backs taken at the back end of the fourth round are all more valuable in Dynasty than Brees Hall. Like I'd rather have Bucky Irving. I'd rather have Trayvon Henderson right now. I'd rather have JT. There's just too much uncertainty with Brees Hall to select him RB7 off the board at the 4-1.
Agreed. Let's keep it moving here. Who's your best value pick in round 5?
Round 5. My best value pick is, hold on a second here. There was just too many worse picks in this one. I have to
Oh no,
sift through my notes.
A few of them. Here, let me start then. I'll get us going here in round 5 with my best value here. I know Ethan's gonna like this pick a lot. It was actually his pick in the round. It's a big smile on his face. I went with JJ McCarthy at the 5-6. I mean, McCarthy's 2024 season was a wash, as we know, due to a torn meniscus. But I liked him as a prospect coming out of Michigan, and I think Minnesota was the best landing spot for a quarterback in that draft. He's got great weapons, as we know. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, another year removed from his ACL injury, and just a phenomenal system, just so quarterback friendly, centered by Kevin O'Connell. Sam Darnold was left for dead years ago, and he gets airdropped into the system. He becomes a starting quarterback during the preseason and finishes as QB8 in this format last season. So, no one had that happening. I mean, Sam Darnold was barely a fringe roster guy in Dynasty this time of year ago, and all of a sudden you wake up with quarterback 8 on your hands. So to see McCarthy get dropped in that system, I feel really good about it. He might not finish as a QB8 in his rookie year, but I think he's going to be given every opportunity to succeed as a first-round pick. And, if you need a quarterback here, you want to wait to the 5th round to take one, whether it's your first or second quarterback, you can hit other positions and you can fill out your roster pretty good. And you're going to get a guy who's going to get that 3-year window to start on a rookie contract. So really like that pick a lot with JJ McCarthy. I would be surprised if he was a complete bust. And if he's just good for 4 or 5 years, I think you're going to feel at least okay about the selection. And I think his ceiling's a lot higher than that.
Yeah, as a disclaimer, I tried to stay away from my picks. I want to feel too much heat from the guys in the mock draft. But no, I was pumped when JJ McCarthy fell to the middle of the 5th round here. Just as you said, I mean, look what Sam Darnold did in that offense. JJ McCarthy is more talented. I think he showed a lot just in his limited play in the preseason. And I mean, how can you not be good with the passing weapons that he has at his disposal? So like I said, I was pumped to have him as my QB2 with that much upside. And I'm actually going to stick with the quarterback position for best value. And I went with T-Law, Trevor Lawrence, 5'10" off the board, QB19. And to me, this is just a selection where it's all upside, right? Trevor Lawrence has shown high-end QB finishes once before. Obviously, he was injured last year. He was the golden one. He was the chosen one. He was supposed to be the next great, and he just hasn't lived up to it. Now he has BTJ. He has Travis Hunter. I mean, he has Liam Cohen. I think now needs to be the time where Trevor Lawrence takes that step. So I like the shot here at the 5'10", and I understand there is a little risk to it, but if it hits, I mean, Trevor Lawrence at QB19, I mean, that's a pretty good dart to throw there.
Yeah, agreed. I like the pick there. There's one other quarterback I probably would have taken before him, but I like this. I like the 5'10". I mean, that's a good spot for him.
Exactly.
I'd argue one or two other quarterbacks should have probably gone sooner than this too, but that's fine. Yeah, Lawrence is a good call out there. No complaints. Who's your worst value though? See, you said there are a few of them to parse through. Which one did you end up on?
Yeah, I guess I think I'm going to go with. Let me see here. I'll probably go James Cook at the 5'12". I'm just not. I've never been a James Cook believer or a fan. I think he's a product of the offense. And they're in contract disputes right now. He's going into a second contract. I mean, Ray Davis is getting hyped because of that. Both sides are hoping to get a deal done. So I understand if they do get a deal done and he does stay in Buffalo, obviously that is a good place to be. I think I would have rather went in a different direction. I think I would have rather went RJ Harvey, even Caleb Johnson there over Cook. It's not the worst win now approach in the world. I mean, this manager went Breece Hall the round before, so I can understand it in that regard. But I mean, Cook, he wants around $15 million a year. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, I would not pay James Cook $15 million a year. I mean, the franchise tag as of this year was $13.64 million. So I mean, they didn't tag him. I just think there's some uncertainty there if they can't get a deal done, because I think James Cook value tanks if he is off the Buffalo Bills, because like I said, I just think he's a product of the offense there.
Agreed. I wouldn't give him that contract either. I think you can do a little bit better if you're going to maybe not a little bit better, but I would rather just go with like a rookie or something next year, or a veteran on the cheaper route rather than pay him. They probably will pay him, for being honest. Like we always say, like, don't pay these guys, but then these NFL teams almost always, and they get paid. Like we say, it's a committee approach. Teams don't pay running backs. They don't pay running backs like other positions, but they get extensions if they've been as productive as James Cook has. So I'll probably get one, but I'm with you. Like, I didn't love this pick either. So I agree with you in that regard. He wasn't quite my worst one, though. He was probably second on my list. I went with Rome Odunze at the 5-5 as my least favorite pick. And I'm going to sound like a Rome hater. I'm not a Rome hater. I'm willing to leave the light on for Rome being a fantasy producer someday, because I do like him as a prospect, but I just don't think it's going to happen in 2025. And as much as I like the Bears' upgrades that they've made this season between their offensive line, adding Ben Johnson and all that, hell, they gave Caleb Williams a first-round tight end in Colston Loveland and a second-round receiver in Luther Burden. Like, all these moves look good on paper, but I kind of adds up to me as a crowded situation with an unproven quarterback and a first-time head coach. So I like the moves. I think if I was selecting a young receiver here, I probably would have just taken Xavier Worthy, who went 2 picks later. And if I needed another position, I might have pivoted and gone and done that. But like I said, I'll leave the light on for Realm being good someday, but I just don't think he's going to get off to a hot start this season, which is just going to cause his value to drop even further.
Rome Odunze needs to take off this year for this pick to make sense. This is the manager that went Saquon Barkley in the 3rd round, so you do want receivers that can help you win now. And Odunze may or may not be that guy. It does, by the sounds of it, you don't think he's going to take that step. It's obviously a crowded room, as you said. He needs to overtake, in my opinion, to return value. He needs to overtake kind of DJ Moore as that alpha wide receiver one, get that target share, and become worthy of that top 10 selection just a year ago. So Rome Odunze, obviously a guy that still has a bunch of dynasty value currently, and he's getting hype. But if he has a lackluster season, that hype is going to go south very quickly, and his dynasty stock is going to take a turn for the worse.
Agreed. Who'd you like in round 6?
Round 6. So I think in round 6, for a win now approach, which I'm going to talk about your guy, your team. I think a win now approach, it's hard to argue against George Kittle in the middle of the 6th round here. He has been, the last 4 years, he's been tight end 4, 3, 5, and 3 last year. In a 1.75 tight end premium format, George Kittle in the 6th round is an absolute difference maker. And based on your build, you're in win now. And George Kittle, I mean, in this format, there's arguably not many pieces that will help you win now more than George Kittle. So, I mean, George Kittle is going to be Purdy's number 1 option. Obviously, Ayuk coming back from injury. Pearsall coming in the year 2, missing a lot of time year 1. You have Jennings, but Kittle is still going to be Purdy's guy. So, in this format, I know Kittle's a little older, but with the build of this team, I think it's hard to argue against George Kittle.
And yes, like you said, it was my pick. I actually had him as my best value in round 6 to toot my own horn. Ethan stayed away from all his own guys. There's 2 of my guys, I think, that I picked in this one. Mahomes and Kittle. Mahomes and Kittle. You like both of them, too. You agree with me on both of them. So clean sweep in the room. Aaron's not here, so he doesn't get a vote today. But, yeah, I went with them, too. I mean, to this point in the draft, I wasn't necessarily in a full pick a direction. I mean, I highlighted my team here. Like, it's Mahomes, it's Puka, it's Purdy, it's A.J. Brown, it's Xavier Worthy. My first 5 rounds, I wanted to make damn sure I got guys that had at least 3 years to produce. I mean, 4 of those 5 guys have longer than that in theory to produce. A.J. Brown, you could argue, has 3 good years left. He's, I think, 27 right now, maybe 28 this season, something like that. So he's probably got 3 years left. But then round 6 comes along, and that's when I wanted to make a call and say, if I'm gonna contend, I want the best hammer left on the board in a 1.75 premium format. And to me, that was a no-brainer in George Kittle. And then once I made that call, I knew the rest of the way in the startup. I said, I'm in win now mode. And a lot of the picks that I made reflected that decision, which I think is what you have to do in a startup. It's okay to go in there without necessarily knowing what you want to do. But once you kind of start going down an avenue, you should keep going down that avenue. In this case, it was a win now mode. And that's what I kind of set me on a course for the remainder of the startup draft. But let's talk about worst values here in round 6 quickly. What do you think? Who do you think got it wrong in round 6, and who was the player?
I think the worst value in round 6 was at the 6'3" in Zay Flowers. He was wide receiver 25 last year in PPR. He was wide receiver 36 in points per game, and he played all 17 games last season. And the Ravens were 7th in the league for pass per game. Lamar threw 41 touchdowns. And you're telling me he can't be a wide? I think to distribute the ball. There's 2 tight ends that they use. They just paid Rashad Bateman. I just don't think there's a lot of upside in Zay Flowers at the 6'3", especially with some of the players that are still on the board.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had a lot of the same points written down on Zay. He was my pick in this round as well, so I won't add more fuel onto that fire. I'm with you 100% on that. We'll keep it going here into round 7 here. In terms of best values, who did you have for this round?
I went with a guy that I think you're starting to become higher and higher as the days go on, and that's Jalen Waddle at the 7'8". He is wide receiver 29 off the board, and I just think he's a player that can return to his 2022 form where he was wide receiver 7. Waddle, former top 10 pick. Tyreek Hill, he's going to be aging out. And they just got rid of Jonnu Smith, who takes up obviously a lot of targets across the middle. I think it's time to Waddle to reemerge as an alpha target earner in this offense. Hopefully, Tua can stay healthy the entire year. Last year was kind of a wash with Tua being out of the lineup. But at wide receiver 29 off the board in the 7th round, I'll definitely take my Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, he was my pick in this round as well, was Jalen Waddle. You said everything that I had written down here as well. Now you're over here reading my notes. Yeah, I've been getting higher and higher on him. And as I get lower and lower on Tyreek Hill, I know these targets have to go somewhere, and Waddle is the clear-cut candidate to be that guy. To this point, they haven't necessarily fully utilized him correctly. This coaching staff hasn't. So I think now with Jonnu Smith gone, I think he's kind of the obvious no-brainer to take that next step. And even if this regime does get gassed and is out by the middle of the year, Mike McDaniel's out the door. I mean, Tua is still locked in there long term, and so is Jalen Waddle. So, those guys are going to be the stalwarts of this offense in the future. But I think that future could start right now for Waddle as early as the 2025 season. I'll just keep going into my worst values here. I went with another young receiver. At the 7'2", we had Jordan Addison come off the board, and Addison's one of those guys where kind of like Zay Flowers, if he played on a different team, I might like him a little bit better. But we know he's always going to take a backseat to Justin Jefferson for the entirety of his tenure in Minnesota. We know TJ Hawkinson's still under contract there, and he's going to be another year healthier, like I said earlier, from his injury. So he's going to be in the mix for targets too. It is a rookie quarterback. As high as I am on JJ McCarthy, I do have to say that. We haven't seen him lead an NFL passing attack to this point in his career. So I just don't see him finishing higher than a back-end WR2 anytime soon, which I guess you could argue is fine. He was WR24 in this mock, so you could argue he's going about where he should, which is fair. I just don't really have a big preference on drafting a guy at WR24 who's going to finish at WR24. I want guys who have the opportunity to outperform their draft position, especially even if they're a little bit longer in the tooth. If they could score better than that for a couple of years, I would probably prefer that. So Addison's a guy I want on my rosters if I can get him cheap enough, but early 7th round still just a little bit too pricey for me.
I do think it's a little pricey for Jordan Addison, but I do see the upside in him. I mean, who knows how long he's going to stay in Minnesota. He might be out of there sooner than later and be able to kind of take his talents elsewhere where he can be more of a focal point of the offense. But yeah, where you're drafting Addison, I mean, especially because that team already took Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, I mean, American Hampton, they went RB heavy. So you think they'd be more of a win now approach. And then you look at their receiving core, Nagbuka, Addison, and then Luther Burden. So very, very young wide receiver core. It doesn't really correlate to the running backs and the potential win now approach. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, no, I don't hate the Addison pick. He wasn't my call, but I definitely see where your head's at there. I went to a guy that this could either be like a steal or the worst value. And I just went Chris Olave. Chris Olave at the back end of round 7. I understand the upside there, but there's just other players I'd rather go. I'd rather select at this spot than Chris Olave, seeing who was left on the board. Just because, I mean, Olave, unfortunately for him, he's one head injury away from potentially retiring. He's has very little value in trades. People are just kind of out on Olave. So you kind of need to find an Olave truther or somebody that still believes that he has a long-term NFL future as a trade partner to get, I mean, what Olave managers want in value. So it was more so not a hate the player kind of pick. It was, it's unfortunate how injury prone he's been and the type of injuries he's received just makes him a very risky pick with some of the receivers left on the board. Yeah,
he is risky due to those head injuries, like you mentioned, which means you probably won't like my next call for round 8. Because I'm going to go with the guy with the only guy in the league with a longer history of head issues than Olave in the form of Tua Tagovailoa, who went into 804 in this draft, is my best value in around 8. I just looked at the QB position. He's the last guy left who only needs to stay healthy to be a long-term starter in the league. I mean, obviously that's a big if when it comes to Tua, as we know. But I think in this stage at the quarterback position, a lot of the risks are mitigated here. The fact that it is the 8th round. And we know Tua might not ever be like an elite quarterback in the league, but he's a guy that, like I said earlier, like if you're waiting on quarterback, he's a guy you feel pretty good about when he's playing as your second quarterback. I might do exactly what this manager did and stock the fridge at quarterback later in the draft, where they take 3 guys in a row between the rounds 11 and 12, guys that are starting in the NFL. So I like that kind of insurance. But while Tua is playing, he's a guy that you can feel pretty good about as your second quarterback. And I think in round 8, seeing the guys that went after him, if you needed any sort of production from your quarterback this season, he was the last guy to take.
No, I agree with that. Tua, when healthy in that offense, is going to produce. And as you said, he's kind of that. There's a pretty decent tier drop once he gets selected. So definitely no qualms about that selection. I think that was very good value there in the 8th round. I had to go with my guy as the best value here. I think you already know where I'm going. The 8-1, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is coming off the board as the wide receiver 32. He was a top 15 receiver last year. I expect similar results this year. So I think you're just getting a massive value in production. Jeudy is still relatively young. I think he's found a home in Cleveland. And I get it. I mean, Winston was chucking the ball all over the field last year. But, I mean, Jerry Jeudy is going to be the number 1 wide receiver in that room. You have Cedric Tillman, you have David Njoku, but I think it's going to be the Jerry Jeudy show. And I think we're finally going to start to see the guy that was drafted in the 1st round, I believe back in 2020. So Jerry Jeudy, I think you're getting very good value at the 8-1.
I agree. 8th round pick for Jeudy is a good spot. I mean, am I worried about his quarterbacks in this situation this year? Yeah, obviously. They drafted a whole bunch of who knows what and combined it with a bunch of who knows what in terms of veterans that were already there. So we'll see. But yeah, 8th round, a lot of those risks are mitigated. He's coming off a good season. I think that there's enough meat on the bone here for that to be a good pick. Who is your worst pick or worst value anyway in the 8th round?
I think the worst value for me in this round was Luther Burden at the 8-11. It's not like I hate the player, but just looking at this team's build, I would have went in a direction that could have helped my team win more. I already alluded to it with Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, you have two good quarterbacks with upside with Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels, and then you went so young already with Ibuka and Addison. I think you could have went in a different direction to get a more locked and loaded starter in your lineup. Luther Burden is buried on that depth chart with Odunze, DJ Moore. You have Komet, you have Loveland. I mean, what's Luther? You're never going to be able to start Luther Burden with any sort of confidence. So to me, based on this build and based on the players around, I would have went in a different direction.
Agreed. He was my call out as well. 8-11. Luther Burden, really didn't like him. He's the type of guy I have kind of soured on during the scouting process. And if you just do still believe in Burden, I think the time to get a share of him is going to be during the season, when teams that took him in the early second round see that he's not playing a ton, he's not productive. Maybe you can swoop in and grab him for a future second round pick, or, maybe swap in another player in there or something who's a veteran and you want to get a younger player. You can probably do that. So that's probably my only avenue I would look to acquire Burden, but I agree with you completely. My worst value as well. Moving over to round 9, I'm going back to one of your guys, so you're going to get excited.
Oh yeah.
You liked one of my tight ends earlier, so I guess I had to come back around and like one of yours in the form of Isaiah Likely at the 9-6. This is Mark Andrews' final year under contract with the Ravens, and so I like taking the shot at Likely as a kind of a hedge on future production. I just think at this stage we could very easily see a scenario by the end of 2025 that he's the best tight end on this roster, at least from a pass catching standpoint. So I like that a lot. We had Lamar develop a really solid chemistry with Andrews in his prime, making him one of the best fantasy tight ends in all of fantasy football. So will this likely have that in his outcomes? I don't know. But in round 9, I think it's a worthwhile gamble to find out. He's young and he's productive. And if you look at, he's productive when he's been the guy. And if you look at the guys that go after him in the draft, they're either aging guys who you might get a year or two of production out of, or they're younger guys who haven't done anything yet. So I think Likely is kind of the last guy who bridges the gap of both of those things, where he's young. He has the opportunity to carve out more of a role for himself this year for standalone value. But when Andrew steps away or moves on or gets cut, traded, whatever the case may be, that Likely can come in here and be that tight end of the future for the Ravens.
Hey, I'm gonna have to agree with you there because it was my selection. No, I was actually surprised Likely fell that far. I know a bunch of people are very high on Likely, and the situation I think is just going to get better for him as obviously the year plays out, and then with Mark Andrews aging out. So I was very happy to get Likely in the middle of the round there. I like that probably would have been my selection as well. I probably would have been in agreement with you. But like I said, I tried to stay away from my players. But so I'll just bring up another tight end. I think David Njoku. He's still. I mean, he's aging. I think his birthday is actually tomorrow, July 10th. But he in this round, you're getting a locked and loaded starter week in and week out. He has a ton of upside in 1.75 premium. I think David Njoku, he's a perennial tight end one when healthy and when on the field. So I just like the value in terms of projected fantasy points in for 2025. So I just like the tight ends in this round. I mean, we're not showing any love to Kyle Pitts, unfortunately, but isn't it crazy how far he's fallen?
Yeah, I rewind a couple years ago, we would have been all over Kyle Pitts and taking him like the second or third round and loving it, talking about what a value that was. And those are that's footage we would have wanted to destroy down the line. So, but we are talking tight ends here in round 9 that we like. So I think we should keep the tight end theme going here, where I start talking about guys I don't like in this round. And with 5 of the 12 picks in the round being tight ends, I guess the odds were, somewhat likely for that to be the case. But I didn't really like the Jonnu Smith pick at 9-12. At this point, the trade had already happened. He was already out of Miami and he was in Pittsburgh at the time that the startup draft was taking, this mock startup was taking place. So I just think his value took a serious hit. I think any value that he had in Dynasty was tied to him being the safety valve for Tua and the way he was last season. And the trade move to Pittsburgh, I think, is pretty crushing to his fantasy production that he's going to give us in 2025. I mean, he's got to share the tight end targets with Pat Freiermuth, who I'm not convinced is really all that much worse than Jonnu Smith, if we're being honest. I just think they've been in very different situations in their respective careers, especially if you're looking at 2024. And now he goes from Tua, when he's healthy, being on the field, being the short down, check down guy for him, to Aaron Rodgers, who's on the wrong side of 40, on a corpse of what he used to be. I mean, I know some of the counting stats were there. People love pointing to that after the fact to kind of say, oh, maybe he still has it. Maybe he still got it. It's like, no, the Jets sucked last year, guys. Like, they were terrible in the first half of games. Like, Rodgers is on his last legs. The guy hemmed and hawed all offseason if he even wanted to play football. And ended up taking an incredibly cheap deal for 1 year to kind of stick it out for one more season in Pittsburgh. So I'm really down on the Steelers offense as a whole, and I'm really down on Jonnu Smith here, and I didn't like him at the 9-12.
No, I agree completely with this pick. Jonnu Smith in Miami, it's a completely different story. As you said, I don't think Freiermuth is any less of a tight end than Smith. Going to Pittsburgh, where going from the high flying offense like the Miami Dolphins to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, who perennially has one of the slowest moving offenses, least amount of plays run per game. It's just a kind of a dead end for him. So I would have rather went Ferguson, who went in the next round. I would have rather went Otten, and I probably would have rather went Engram in the 11th round over Jonnu Smith if we're just looking at the tight ends. So
Mason Taylor too.
Oh yeah, Mason Taylor, exactly. Early second round pick by the New York Jets. So I just think if you're going to go tight end there was better value on the board.
And that was your call, right, in this round? You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's get to round 10 then. We got a few more rounds here to wrap this up, folks. We got Brian, or who was your guy? Who was your guy? Best value in round 10.
Best value in round 10. I was debating between two players here, but I ended up going with Jackson Dart here at the 10-5. We're talking about a guy that is going to get an opportunity to start for the New York Giants at some point this year. And I know he's a guy that you really like throughout the process. He's a guy that has the tools. And if he can go out there and produce and be effective and be the quarterback of the future for the New York Giants, I mean, you're kind of getting a steal in the 10th round, a young up and coming QB with some rushing upside, with a really good arm, paired to Malik Neighbors, paired with Brian Daboll. So this is just a pure upside pick, in my opinion, in the middle of the 10th round. So it's kind of hard to hate this one.
Agreed. I mean, I like Dart a lot. He's toolsy guy, obviously. So yeah, like the call a lot. Won't disagree with it at all. I'm not 100% sold he's going to be great in fantasy, but this is a lot in this spot here. Like, it's baked into the price. Yeah. Even if he doesn't play this year, he's a guy who's an asset, going to get an opportunity to play at some point. So like that call it a lot. Wasn't what I went with though. I went with Brian Thomas Jr. At the 10-12, the last pick in this round. And look, is Brian Robinson a sexy dynasty asset? No,
of course, dude.
But do I care that he's not a sexy dynasty asset in the 10th round, end of the 10th round? No, I don't care at all. Like, I mean, the guy is tied. He is the volume running back in one of the best offenses in the NFL. The guy is dripping with double-digit tight end upside this season, and he's still young enough where even if he's out of Washington after this year, he's still going to stick around the league for a few years. So it's just a 1 year go around you're getting with Robinson on your roster. I mean, hell, and then the upside to that is if he does get an extension in Washington to be that early down grinder, even if it's like a 1 year, 2 year extension, whatever, like, this is the 10th round, guys. Like, so you have already made your calls if you're going to be a win now team or not. This team that took him in particular was in a win now build, and they were kind of hurting a little bit at running back. They needed a third guy. And I think for your third running back, just throwing him into a flex spot, it's kind of a guy you can set and forget, and you can bet on him scoring a touchdown in maybe like 8 or 9 weeks this year, and you'll take that if you're a contender out of a flex spot. So I like that pick a lot. Brian Robinson at the 10-12.
No, I think B-Rob is being slept on. I think he's a very safe player in fantasy, especially for this season. And yeah, with this team's build, I think Brian Robinson was a great selection here. And he's, like you said, he's a guy it's not a sexy pick. Nobody gets excited, but he's going to produce.
For sure. Who did you not like in round 10?
Round 10 was a little tricky. I mean, nobody jumps off the page screaming like, hey, it was terrible value here. I think all these picks kind of made sense. So agreed. I just went into the ageist RB, avenue, and I went Joe Mixon, which honestly, I think for this team, Joe Mixon makes a lot of sense. I just think I would have rather, the only reason why I say Joe Mixon is because I think I would have rather had some of the running backs after Joe Mixon just because of age. Joe Mixon is 28. I don't know when he turns 29, but I mean, I think Woody Marks is gonna eat into some of that workload. Obviously, Damian Pierce is there. They brought in, I think, Cam Akers as well. They're just bringing in everybody into
Well, they brought in
Houston.
someone else too. Who'd you forget?
Who did I forget?
Yeah. He was a grinder for years, really good in Cleveland.
Oh yeah, Nick Chubb. Yeah. So
that's the one you forgot.
Yeah, they're bringing in everybody there. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to, I don't think he's going to just have the lion's share, like 70, 80% of the touches here. And Joe Mixon, I think, has already kind of taken a step backwards. So at this point in the draft, I understand it, but I would have rather taken a shot on one of these younger backs, even a guy like Pacheco, Scadaboo, like Brian Robinson. I mean, I would have rather went in that direction. Give me a guy that's going to produce, but also has a chance to get a second contract and produce for a few more years.
Yeah, I'm with you. Mixon was a good call. It's not who I went with. I think around 10's okay for Mixon.
Agreed.
I will say before we move off of this manager's team, I'll highlight it real quick. Like there's living fast and loose, and then there's living fast and loose at running back with Christian McCaffrey and Joe Mixon as your only running backs of note on this entire roster. Like, wow. I mean, I wish I could wake up feeling as ballsy as this manager did, rolling with those two running backs in a win now build, mind you, too. So
he woke up feeling dangerous, baby.
He did. It's Dangerous Dave, we should start calling him. But yeah, like that was that was bold. Hey, if it works out, great. I mean, McCaffrey might end up being a steal in all seriousness. But yeah, the Mixon pick is a tough one, and now it's mine as well. So we'll keep the train going on that here. We'll just round right into round 11. I'll start with this one. I'll go with my favorite value. I'm going to go with Evan Ingram at the 11:01. If you're a win now team, which this team is, and draft a tight end to this point in the draft, which this team didn't, in a 1.75 tight end premium league, Evan Ingram, to me, in my estimation, is your get out of jail free card. He has the best chance of any Broncos skill player to win the number 2 receiving option on this team, behind Courtland Sutton. And like we've seen the tight end position be viable for years in a Sean Payton led offense. He hasn't necessarily had that guy so far in his 2 years in Denver, but I think he has it for at least for 2025 in the form of Evan Ingram. And I understand other people want to go ahead and leave Ingram for dead after an injury plagued season in 2024 in Jacksonville, but I think Denver is just a great new opportunity for him. And if I the 11th round of startups in premium leagues, hell, even if it's not a premium league, I can get him in the 11th round as a depth tight end. I'm going to be scooping up shares of him all day at that price point, Ethan. What do you think?
100% agree. This team's locked and loaded to win this year. So to draft your first tight end in the 11th round and get Evan Ingram, I mean, it's a home run. I mean, Evan Ingram's going to smash as long as he stays healthy. So I think this manager did a good job leaning into the win now approach. Evan Ingram, great pick, and is I 100% agree. I didn't go with Evan Ingram, but I mean, that's a very, very solid pick. I went in a slightly different direction. I just went with Jacoby Myers. Myers is, I mean, at wide receiver 48 off the board is just being slept on. I guarantee he finishes the year as a top 24 wide receiver. So to get him at this price is, I think, a little ridiculous. Jacoby Myers, he's a guy that I'm targeting a redraft. I mean, he's a cheap guy you can add to your dynasty roster as well and get legit production. Jacoby Myers, I'm pretty high on going into this year. So to get him at wide receiver 48 prices, I think is an absolute steal in the 11th round.
Keep the train going. Tell me who you didn't like in round 11.
Round 11, honestly, it's another tough round, but I think there was one guy in my estimation that kind of stuck out, and it was Pat Freiermuth. And we just kind of talked about with Jonnu Smith. I mean, Jonnu Smith and Freiermuth they're going to eat into each other's production. And I just don't think, when are you going to want to start Freiermuth? I mean, I know it's 1.75 tight end premium, but Aaron Rodgers old and slow in terms of running the offense. There's probably not going to be a lot of targets coming his way week to week. And looking at the players coming off the board directly after Freiermuth, I mean, like I said, I just talked about Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers is going to just blow Freiermuth away in terms of points this year. I mean, Harris, I think Ridley is going to absolutely crush this year. So I think that I think Myers and Ridley were great picks in this round. So I would have went in a different direction. I know Pitts was the only tight end of consequence on the roster at this point, or actually no, Freiermuth was the tight end 2 on this roster. So I get trying to get a tight end, but I mean, go Mason Taylor. Yeah, I mean, I would much rather go Mason Taylor over Freiermuth, considering the situation now in Pittsburgh.
I'd rather go Dallas Goedert too, if I'm being honest with you. Like,
I
know he's a little older, but he went round 13, so he's a great value too. We're not going to go quite as far as round 13, but I would have even taken him as well over him. I agree with you. It's a good pick, but it wasn't my my call out here. I went with Juwan Jennings at the 11-12, and I don't hate Jennings. I mean, I think he's a good quality NFL player, but I feel like he's just destined to be in a wide receiver rotation with players who the team has a lot more invested in than they do him. They paid Brandon Ayuk $30 million a year. They selected Ricky Pearsall in round 1. And we know we had just had a conversation about how much we both love George Kittle this season. So something has to fall off of this 49ers offense. Otherwise, we need to start talking about Brock Purdy being like QB1 overall, because you can't have 3 awesome wide receivers and an awesome tight end and the quarterbacks suck. It's something we talk about a lot on the show. So the things have to make sense in that context. I think if something's going to fall to the wayside by the end of this season, it almost has to be Juwan Jennings. Otherwise, something went wrong with those other guys or injuries popped up. That's fine. There's an avenue for that. So I think he's okay overall here in the 11th round. But I just think that there's some other guys here I would have taken, particularly guys like Stephon Diggs, who could be good this year, or Michael Pittman Jr., who's still relatively young and is technically like the lead receiver in that room. I probably would have gone up to him instead, who went almost a few picks later.
I hear you. Jennings obviously had a great year last year, but as you said, something's got to give. And in my opinion, I think Pearsall is going to take a big step. Ayuk is going to eventually come back from injury. Like you said, we love Kittle. So, I mean, how much volume is Jennings going to get? But just to look at this round, I mean, isn't it kind of crazy? The fall of Anthony Richardson, who this time last year, I believe he went at the 112 or 201. It was right there. And now
I think that was probably 2 years ago, but
2 years ago. Yeah. And that now you're looking at him at the 11-9, and it's just like left for dead.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy how fast that people can fall out of favor. You could even argue he's maybe a little bit of a value there at the 11-9.
And that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah, like it's at that point, like you can kind of take a risk. You can even draft Daniel Jones way later and kind of secure the position for a year if you wanted to go that route. But that's what we got for round 11. We got one more round here to close out. Give me your best value in round 12.
Best value in round 12. I'm gonna go Tajay Spears. I think Tajay Spears. I know we talked him up in I think our last episode or 2 episodes ago. I mean, when given the opportunity, with over 50% of the snaps, he was an RB1 3 weeks in a row. I think they're going to lean on Spears a lot more this year. I think he's going to be a very big asset out of the backfield for Cam Ward. They've already talked about limiting Tony Pollard's touches. So in this round, in the 12th round, I like the upside you get with Spears, especially if you are a team that didn't draft a ton of backs. In this case, this manager did draft a decent amount of running backs, but Tajay Spears in the 12th round, I do like the upside. He's still young on his first contract, so I think it could be wheels up for Tajay Spears, and I think we could be talking about a massive value jump in at the end of this upcoming season.
Yeah, we both like Spears. Go back an episode or 2 on the show if you want to hear more conversation on him. We got it to him in pretty good detail. So yeah, we both like Spears, so I like that pick too. But I want the best value on this round as Stephon Diggs at the 12-9. I mean, I said you can accuse me of being a Patriots homer with the Drake May pick. You can accuse me of being a Patriots homer again here. I'm getting it all out because I've talked nothing but a bunch of crap on my Patriots for the last couple of years for the terrible decisions that they've made. So maybe I'm making good on some of that. I'm making up for some of that here on this show. But I just think here, like at this stage in the draft, I mean, has the highest upside by far for 2025 and maybe even 2026 of any receiver left on the board. Like we've seen him be a perennial, our WR1 for years and years. And I know he's coming off an injury, so he might be slowed by that a little bit. He's also on the wrong side of 30, so you could argue that that's the case too. But I mean, are we really going to sit here and wonder where the targets are going to go when Diggs is back on the field, Ethan? I mean, we've seen what the results look like when Pop Douglas gets those targets. We've seen what the results look like when Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry get those targets. Like, spoiler alert, folks, these looks are going to be funneled to the former All-Pro as soon as this guy is back on the turf. Whether that's week 1, week 5, week 6, whatever. Like, he's going to get all the volume he can handle when they do throw the ball. And in round 12, if it's a win now piece that you're looking for, like I think this manager is in win now mode. Like I tossing this guy into a flex spot, that could be very easily be a weekly advantage that you have in your lineup. And if it really flames out and burns out, doesn't pan out at all, like who cares? It's a 12th round pick. Like you can make up for it later in the draft.
No, I agree. Stephon Diggs is going to be a key piece to your lineup if he does come back fully healthy. Receivers coming off knee injuries always scare me in the first year coming back because they're usually not the same. Usually it's year 2 when they kind of get back to full swing. Hopefully for the Patriots and Stephon Diggs, hopefully he can roll back into form sooner than later. He looks pretty good with all the videos and clips I've seen, and hopefully he can be out there week 1 as Drake May's number 1.
That would be good. All right, we got 2 more guys to talk about here. Who was your least favorite player in this round?
Least favorite player in this round, another tough round, but I'm going to go Tootin here. And it's not because I don't like Tootin, but I would have rather taken the shot on Travis Etienne, the projected starter in the 12th round. I mean, Etienne is still in his first contract, former first round pick, obviously. And I just think right now Tootin is the at best third back. I mean, you have Etienne, Bigsby, and you have Tootin. It might be an ugly committee, but give me a shot on the still youthful Travis Etienne, first round pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think people are leaving him a little too much for dead. So I mean, it's not like I hate the Tootin pick. I'd rather go Travis Etienne, the right now penciled in starter for the Jacksonville Jaguars over the athletic freak that is Brashal Tootin.
Yeah, I agree. Who took Travis Etienne in this draft again?
I don't know.
Oh, that was my pick. Oh, right.
Was it really?
Solid, strong pick.
Amazing.
As my RB5 in a win now build. Yeah, I love that. But okay, we got one more pick to go. Ethan just gave me a ton of love we
can end it right here. We can just end it right
so
now.
I'm going to go the other way and just dump on his 12th round selection here, which I haven't done to this point. I haven't called any of your guys yet thus far. It was Darnell Mooney for me. It's at 12-7. And look, Darnell Mooney's a guy I've never been overly high on. I know he had some couple blow up weeks last year. He had that 31-point ridiculous game, that shootout on I think it was a Sunday night game or maybe a Thursday night game against Atlanta that I remember watching. So he was great that day. Had a couple other weeks where he popped off for 20 points too, which is great. But I mean, just kind of look at his season as a whole. In the 2024, he finished his WR 38 on a points per game basis and WR 31 overall. He's fine if you want to throw him in a flex spot and give you a chance with 3 receivers and 3 flex spots. It's fine. He could give it to you there. Puts him on the flex radar, sure, but like I think I would have rather taken that shot on Stephon Diggs to see if I can get that league-winning upside where you can probably find a flex position a little bit later, like Rashad Bateman a couple rounds later, a couple other guys. If you really wanted to wait on it, you could. I just think I would rather have taken the jolt and the risk to see if Diggs can give you even 80% of what he once was, which is probably still a back-end WR1, if not a high-end WR2, as the leader in the Patriots offense. So that's what I would have done if I were you.
No, I don't completely disagree with you. I think especially with my build, and I have a very youthful team, so I could have afforded to go Stephon Diggs. I mean, my team is very young, so Diggs would have gave me that locked and loaded, like second, third flex veteran presence there and give me locked and loaded production. I do think Mooney has a chance to be good with Penix. I mean, he's the clear wide receiver 2 there behind Drake London. So I probably leaned into the age a little too much there, but I've always been kind of a Mooney guy. So I don't mind taking the shot, but if I wanted a little bit more locked and loaded production. Diggs was probably the pick, but like I said, aging wide receivers coming off knee injuries don't scream 100% success rate. So that's why I went Darnell Mooney, because I was a little light at receiver. I was going running back heavy at the back end of this draft. So, but I understand your points.
So you must really think that Kyle Pitts is dead then, right? Because obviously Drake London's the man. You have Mooney as the WR2, obviously, but you must think Pitts is just done, right? Because otherwise you'd really like Penix a lot more.
Well, I don't mind Penix. I like Penix. I mean, I didn't. I know you brought Penix up as a bad value. I don't think Penix is a terrible bet this year. I mean, like I said, everybody kind of remembers Week 18, QB Penix, Penix QB7, Drake London going bananas. So I mean, Penix has a rocket arm. He does have athleticism. Whether he runs or not is another story, just because obviously he has some history with some injuries. But I do like Penix. I'm not saying Mooney is gonna blow up. I think just week to week in your third flex, he can give you some production. But I do think Drake London is gonna be locked and loaded, top 10 receiver, easy. But who knows what Pitts is going to become, or if he's even on the team. It'd be kind of nice if he gets traded to give him a nice fresh start, like Evan Ingram got when he was struggling for the New York Giants, and Evan Ingram gets traded and he kind of blows up. So I'm definitely not 100% out on Pitts. I just think he's just too athletic, and there's just too much talent there to give us what we've been getting so far. Something's got to change there.
Yeah, I'm with you. A change of scenery would be nice for him as well. But that was a quick exercise running down the it was a fun mock draft to go through. You can pause the video here if you want to see the rest of the draft board. We ended up doing 20 rounds. So if you want to scroll through that, feel free to do it. But make sure too, you're not missing any of our content here. We're going to get going into redraft season soon, as that's coming up quickly. But to make sure you're not missing any of our content, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, like the video, share it. All that stuff really helps the algorithm and goes a long way. But until next time, folks, peace.